like Miami.
Miami, 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 Miami.
It feel like Miami.
Welcome to the EP Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, as always, my producer and co-founder, Brian Goins. You're muted.
See, I was about to say, I feel like I haven't been on one of these in a while. It hasn't been as always, as usual.
Yeah, that was.
Sure enough, I forgot to unmute myself. So yeah,
I muted you because just of the way that StreamYard can work sometimes.
Exactly.
But we're here. The Heat won Game 1. Pretty surprisingly, I think, to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Miami also won their tiebreaker today, so they get the 18th pick, not the 20th pick. So shout out to the Heat for winning their little draft tiebreak.
Let's talk about that real quick. Like, every Heat fan really wanted to tank that last game against the Bulls to go up 4 spots for the 0.5% chance of landing the number 1 overall pick. Just think about that.
They wanted the better pick too, but
4 spots compared to what we just witnessed and experienced yesterday. Bless you.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think that was well worth winning that Bulls game, and definitely yesterday's game was probably their best win of the season thus far. Also, we hope there's more of that to come, which I know we'll get into in this breakdown. That I'm really excited to watch. I know you did this last year during the Heat's Eastern Conference Finals run, so I'm kind of like excited to see what you put together for us. And
yeah. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about the game first, and then we're gonna look at some film. I went through some stuff today, and I saw interesting things that Miami was doing that I thought was pretty unique to this kind of matchup with Milwaukee and stuff that I hadn't really seen them break out. So we're gonna break down that game. But Brian, speaking of games, you know that Miami Gaming Parties gives you a customized gaming experience. Miami Gaming Parties delivers private custom video game tournaments for gamers and their lucky guests. And it's truly custom. You can pick the package. You can pick the game, premium, or black tie VIP for 8 to 16 people. That's like a full NBA roster. They bring it all, everything from PS5 to trophies for the winners. You can play it at home or at a venue of your choosing with free on-site consultation, perfect for birthday parties, bachelor parties, anniversaries, corporate events, anything you want. Check out MiamiGamingParties.com for more information. You can check them out on Twitter at Gaming Parties, on Instagram at Miami_Gaming_Parties, or search Miami Gaming Parties on Facebook. So check out our homies over there as Miami games their way into Game 2, and you could
do a gaming party for 2K where the Heat beat the Bucks in 4.
Yeah, you just all fucking pick the Heat and beat the Bucks. Just will this
or do what Alex and I did, where we picked like the current version of the Heat and we play against the Big 3 Heat, and Alex still beats me with the new version of the Heat
because Jimmy's a gamer.
No, Kyle Lowry beat me the last game.
Oh, that's right. You've tweeted that out before. By the way, kind of we can start with Kyle. Funny enough, but Brad, I think he's kind of hurt. He got hurt in that game against the Bulls. Sat out the last couple minutes. Looked hobbled. Only played 18 minutes. They thankfully didn't need him because Gabe Vincent played so well. But he looks kind of banged up. I don't remember if this even made air or not, but I know that Tiff and I talked after hangover time, and we were saying how like he may need to sit a couple games. I wouldn't be surprised if he just like is not available for Game 2. How did he look to you, man? Because like he just looked a little bit not healthy.
I mean, to be honest, he didn't really do much outside maybe like that first quarter. He had like that one really good like pick and roll slip. Yeah, which it was a nice finish from him. I think he had another assist, but that was his only shot attempt for the game. So he went 1 for 1 from the field, played 19 minutes. Honestly, like defensively, I didn't really notice him as much out there as well. So Gabe also had a better game. I would expect Gabe to still start. I don't know how many minutes you would want from Kyle now that Herro's gone. That's what, because Kyle played 19 and Herro had like about 20 minutes and stuff before he obviously was out for the second half. So that's 20 minutes that's out there. to be grabbed. I think Duncan played about 6 as well. So that's really 25, 26 minutes. If Kyle doesn't even play 20 by himself.
Between Duncan and Oladipo, they're going to have to kind of fill that void.
Exactly.
I am not I see people on Twitter, and I saw Siobhan tweeting about this. I'm just not a big Oladipo guy this season. I think he,
I don't like him for this matchup, though. I don't know.
Bond makes the point that he can kind of, as a penetrator, he can get into the same spaces that Tyler does. I just feel like a lot of how Tyler gets there is leveraging his shooting.
I think as a starter, I don't think that makes sense when you're playing 3 guys that are non-shooters. Like, we've seen this happen before in the past in the playoff series. Like, what helped Miami in this last game was their 3-point shooting, and the Bucks were obviously like respecting Miami from the 3-point towards the end of the game. Like, you did see Brook Lopez at least get a little bit out of the paint where Jimmy was able to operate and Bam was able to take that mid-range a few times. I think Kevin Love even had a quote like, it really took Kevin Love also making a couple threes to really get Brook Lopez to step out as well from the paint. Like, to me, I think it has to be either Caleb plays more minutes, Love has to play more minutes, both.
It'll be a committee thing.
And then I think if you had to bring another guard off, I think I would go Duncan first.
I like Duncan in this matchup, and I actually have a clip or two to talk about. Kind of,
he's had some good games against the Bucks in playoffs.
I think outside of the obvious, he brings some interesting things to the offense. But obviously Tyler out, with the broken hand is just such a huge blow, man. He had played so well early in that game, and I think the expectation is Giannis comes back. Maybe not game 2, but probably game 2.
Looks like he is. Shams had a video out this morning on The Athletic saying that he had X-rays after the game. They were negative. MRI today came out negative as well. So it's really just a pain tolerance thing. It sounds like he's going to try to give it a go. Whether or not like he's even effective, and especially like if he gets like bumped again, like he probably miss the majority of the second game as well if he gets just a small ticky-tacky.
And he still has today and tomorrow to rest. So you got 2 days in between games. It's going to help, in a first round series. So, and I kind of hope that Kyle can take that time to also get a little better.
What was Kyle's injury? Because it sounded like it was like a knee bruise kind of thing.
It was a knee bump. Yeah, it was a knee bump. And
he's been dealing with like a bruised knee for a while too, I think.
Yeah, well, at least and then obviously all that stuff kind of compounds because like I don't his lower body just hasn't been right ever since that hamstring, and then that's the knee, and it all kind of connects.
That Atlanta game looked like the Kyle that we've been dying to see.
Yeah, baby.
For the 2 seasons he was here. So like I'm thinking like if Kyle can give you a game or 2 in the series like that, that's what Miami just needs from him. Like obviously
in game 6 against Boston, or really the guy who stepped up with Jimmy was Kyle. I think a lot of people forget like he was huge that game. And they're gonna need him to give a gutty performance a couple games in this hopefully run. But listen, they took home court. They took home court against the number 1 seed. They won game 1. They punched him in the mouth. I thought they played really as well as you could hope. And then now we're going to see what Milwaukee comes back with. And, if Giannis doesn't play, they'll be certainly at an advantage from that standpoint. But, regardless, you get to come back to Miami at worst tied. And, you've been a very good home team. You come feed off the crowd, which was really great during the 2 playing games, particularly the Bulls one. The crowd, I know that the flooding kind of made everybody late, but, they were out in full force. So, Brian, let's just get into it, man. Let's get into how kind of the Heat played these games and this game, and how like the things I liked and noticed. So I think one of the more important things in this series is going to be how they defend Giannis. Yeah. And Brian, they've always kind of done the wall thing. They kind of wall off the paint. They send a lot of help. So usually the low man and the weak side, the low man and the strong side guy kind of come in with the on-ball guy, and they kind of, they build a little wall, and he's seeing 3 or 4 shirts.
And it's in transition mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, and they try to make it as difficult as possible, and then if any kind of ball movement, they kind of send a ton of help. They're doing something totally different now. So let's kind of get into it. Oh, did this I want to kind of so Bam is in a drop. And they used to always kind of switch these actions. So you see Bam is on the ball here on Giannis. Brook Lopez is coming to screen. Kevin Love is guarding Brook Lopez on this set. Look
I
at
think
Caleb
Jimmy's
Martin.
gonna drop. Wait, who's on the floor? It's Bam, Caleb.
Bam, Caleb, Kyle's in the corner, and I believe Jimmy's in the other corner.
Who's right behind Brook right now?
That's Kevin Love.
Okay.
So normally Miami would kind of switch that action. Miami's not doing that. Miami wants to guard Giannis one-on-one with Bam. Bam started on Giannis. This is in the first quarter, and Bam stayed on Giannis the whole game. And they don't switch, they drop, and if they'll fight they'll fight to not switch. So we'll kind of run it. You see that screen comes. Kevin Love kind of shows in a drop. Look at where Caleb is. They still build the wall, right? So Caleb is there. They're holding that line at the nail. You know, you have Carter out here in the corner. Jimmy's the low man in this case. So if the wall is breached, Jimmy can kind of come in and help. Kyle also kind of pinching in between the shooter and the paint. And
quick question right here. Who's like, so right here, I know like what happens because we already just played the clip that Giannis takes a jumper, but in the next situation, like if they look at this film on tape, you see like Giancarlo Carter is pretty much wide open, you know, on the weak side or strong side. Would that be whose responsibility would it be to help on him? Would it be Caleb or would it be Jimmy?
Yeah, that's Caleb's man. So I mean, Jimmy will kind of pinch in case Caleb doesn't make it, because then Jimmy can just kind of close out on his guy in the corner. But you know, Caleb is going to move on the pass, right? I mean, Caleb is really there to show and kind of give a body to Giannis. So we're going to run it. And look, Bam pushes Lopez. He fights to not switch.
I didn't even see Bobby Portis on the other side of the corner.
Yeah, that's Bobby's Jimmy's man. Yeah.
I was like, Bam, oh yeah, that's right. There's 5 guys for the Bucks too.
And look at there's 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in the paint and Lowry. Giannis is gonna make this pass. He's gonna take the shot. I mean, and Miami's gonna get the rebound, Kyle. So we'll run that back, and I want you to guys see. Look, fight, no switch. Kind of let him take that jump shot. And that's kind of what Miami's going to want to do all series long. They want him to take jump shots. They don't want him in the paint. And they're going to try to, you know, they're going to guard him as much as they can with Bam, but it's a team effort. You know, let's take a look at another play. So now Giannis is a screener, right? Giannis is not the ball handler. Giannis is a screener. Bam is on him. We're going to run it. Jimmy's on the ball. That screen connects. Bam's going to drop. Jimmy, they're not switching that as they normally would, because last year PJ Tucker and Bam, or Jimmy and PJ, were always switching. So Bam is staying in a drop. We're not switching like we're always used to. Bam's going to stay in front of Jrue Holiday. Jimmy's going to recover. Jimmy kind of prevents Giannis from rolling, and they're going to force Jrue Holiday into a jump shot. Bam,
what a great way. Go back there. That was a great box out by Tyler Herro. That's something that you don't see in the box score.
Yeah.
But that saved an offensive rebound right there.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that they gave up in that Atlanta game that it looks like they're really taking that to heart. And especially in this game, this series, like they need more of that. I know Tyler's not going to play the rest of the series with his injury, but they need that.
There's 3 guys in the paint crashing. There's only 1 guy from Milwaukee, and he's the smallest guy on the court. Giannis is not even in the play. And that's really their objective, is to try to take him out as many actions as you can. And that's credit to Spo. That's kind of how they guarded Embiid last year, right? They wanted Bam one-on-one, because, you know, if Giannis is not going to be able to get an advantage as a ball handler, the way to do it is to be a screener. But, you know, you put your best defenders in those actions and you kind of take that away from him.
And also that outlet pass from Bam, like they were pushing pace. That was like a really, like the 2 things that were definitely like eye-opening from this game that we didn't really see much in the regular season was obviously, like you were just mentioning, Bam in the drop. But they were intensely trying to get early offense going, and I think that was.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
They were gunning quick. So last look at kind of how they're defending Giannis on defense. We're gonna look at kind of a little semi transition. You know, same thing. Jimmy, Bam, and Caleb. You see that they kind of have their line like a soccer line, and Giannis is gonna come. Boom. Same thing. 3 guys. The wall is here. Bam is a primary defender. Jimmy stunts in off his man. Caleb stunts in as his man. They show Giannis these 3 guys, right? Now he picks up his dribble, right? He's at the top of the key. He's not a threat from there. You want him to take those shots. You kind of cushion off. Look, Jimmy kind of recovers to make sure that pass that Giannis makes doesn't go to a wide open Chris Middleton, who's a dead-eye shooter. Bam's right there. Tyler's ready to step in and take a charge. Max is a low man. Caleb's still holding his line, making sure that, he's there to contest.
I do see right there for a split, like if you go back like maybe 2 frames for like a split second, it looked like if Bobby Portis had a baseline cut right there, he could have had a wide open layup because Caleb's kind of coming up a little too close to the free throw line.
But at that point, you're making Giannis a passer, which I think is ultimately
what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And Caleb has to know, like, if I know my man is cutting, I need to make sure to duck in, and then Max has to duck in, and now you got to make Bobby a passer. So, they're trying to cut the head of the snake. Look at Jimmy. Jimmy's shadowing. Bam's in drop, still right in front of him. You're not getting past me. Jimmy is on that side. That pass to Middleton is unavailable. He is not Chris Paul or Steve Nash. He's not going to make a behind the back pass to Middleton in stride where Jimmy can't recover. So they've effectively taken Chris Middleton out of this play. Caleb Martin is now if Bobby cuts, there's really not a lot of angle. Caleb's going to be able
you got help now finally.
You got help.
And then the strong side corners, you got 2 defenders ready there with Max and Tyler. Like, they're playing this perfectly positionally.
Giannis at this point is his only option is to either try to go at Bam, which obviously if you're Miami, you take that, right? You take that one-on-one with Jimmy there and Caleb, and Giannis is going to pass out of this. Bobby, Caleb is right there to contest. Miami gets the rebound. Their tallest people are in the paint. They're not over switching. Milwaukee's a big team. They're not over switching and compromising their rebounding. They're together. They are playing very tight team defense. They are playing off of Bam's greatness. Bam, that doesn't work if Bam gets blown by. They know that Bam is going to be able to stay in front. They know that Jimmy is scary and responsible enough to be there and to harass. And that's ultimately all you can ask for. They get that this is a win possession for them. They harass Giannis. They force a pass. Caleb recovers. They are moving. They're grooving. They're all over the place.
I like that Miami had 4 guys trying to get the rebound still. And there was really for some reason the Bucks were playing. I don't know if this was something they were trying to adjust in game, but it seems like they're not really crashing the boards at all for the offensive glass. They were kind of trying to prevent the fast break. Does that seem like what's going on to you?
They're crashing. They're not sending guys. They'll send a guy back to make sure that they're not getting cherry picked or whatever. But they're crashing, and I think that it's ultimately been.
Well, Miami had more fast break points in the last game, so I don't know if that's something that.
And that was a lot of those were off turnovers too. A lot of that was off, like Jimmy steal outlet, Kevin, somebody steal to Kevin Love or Lowry outlet. So that stuff has been super successful for them. I should have been using this view from the start. This is actually the money view. I
didn't even know you could get this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Let's talk about Kevin Love for a little bit, Brian, because Kevin has been the big addition to their team, and I think that this is kind of a matchup where a lot of people wanted to see more Kevin Love. So the way this looks, I think, is super important if you're Miami. Vane Hype saying in chat, Kevin Love was sensational, and we got to give him his flowers. We have Kevin Love come in to screen here. It's a fake screen. They give it to Jimmy, and now
it's a flare.
Yeah. And so we got Jimmy in on the elbow, a really dangerous spot. Giannis is now having to defend Kevin Love, right? Basketball 101. Get the help shot blocker out of the paint. So Jimmy's catching the ball up here. Got Wes Matthews. Kyle Lowry cuts. Giannis is not in this play. Giannis has to be within striking distance of Kevin Love because Jimmy's a good passer. Kyle catches. Bobby Portis is not on time. Kyle, that's an easy finish for a 38-year-old point guard. Look at Jimmy smiling. Got to give my man love. And that's huge. Kevin's moving without the basketball. They have motion in their offense. They're running things. They're not just going out there and winging shit. Kyle is the trigger. Jimmy is holding the ball. They run this kind of little pitch.
That's like a give and go
thing. Yeah, a little give and go. And in a way, you have to remember, Miami loves those handoffs so much. Kyle is a threat to shoot off those handoffs. So if we go back here, Kyle's coming off here. He's at the 3-point line. Javon Carter goes over the screen for Jimmy, kind of takes that option away from him. But when you play overly aggressive like that and you have Giannis out of the paint worrying about Kevin Love, That's a cut, veteran move. You go. Kevin Love did not touch the basketball and allowed that play to happen.
And also on that play, you can see Max Strus is in the corner. Joe Ingles could have been a help defender, but he's tight on him. Like, he didn't move an inch off of Max Strus. These are reasons why you have Max Strus in the starting lineup and you want to play him and probably Duncan quite a bit for game 2, because this helps Miami's offense, especially with Kevin Love also being a shooting threat. Like, they're giving you space in the paint to attack. The Bucks usually don't do that. They usually want you to shoot the 3, but for some reason this game, they went away from that philosophy for a bit.
Brian, one of the things that I liked about this set is it kind of encompasses a lot of what Miami does best when they're at their best. So you see Caleb Martin's bringing the ball up. The left side of the court is empty, right? So they're starting this, and really the right corner is also kind of vacated. I mean, Max is there, but really if you think of it like an offside line in soccer, that line is pushed up. Right. They've kind of risen. They've kind of pulled the tide, closer to the nail. So when they run this, they occupy and reoccupy space. So that corner is empty and Caleb gets off of the ball to Kyle and then reload. So there's motion, right? So he's moving here. Now I'm here. Kevin Love cuts. So it's everybody's moving and everyone has a role. And I think that if you're going to beat a team like Milwaukee, who has such an elite defense, you got to do stuff like that, especially, given kind of Miami's handicap. So let's look at another action that K-Love was involved in. We got Jimmy on the wing against Jrue Holiday. That's a winning matchup for him. He wants the smallest guy. We know that Jrue is a great all defense kind of guy. But at the end of the day, if you're going one-on-one with a guard and you're Jimmy Butler, that's a win for you. You got Brook Lopez here at the top of the key, and you have Kevin Love at the three-point line with Brook Lopez guarding him. The guy in the paint right now is guarding Gabe Vincent, which is Jay Crowder. What is Jimmy going to do? Kevin Love comes to screen. Jimmy goes before the screen comes. Brook Lopez has to just point at somebody. Hey, somebody get the help. That low man is now Jay Crowder. Jimmy has a step and the angle. That's not stopping Jimmy. That's an easy basket. Brook Lopez, nowhere near the play. Kevin Love did not touch the basketball.
What I mentioned earlier was they took Brook Lopez out of the paint. Wasn't he didn't he finish second for Defensive Player of the Year today? I didn't see the final voting, but did he finish second?
Yeah, he finished.
He wasn't even in the paint. Like, he's usually a drop defender. That's what he's good at. He's not good in the perimeter. And Miami, we have the numbers from Christian Hernandez. He had a 140 offensive rating in the 15 minutes because Bam's on this play right now. In the 15 minutes that Bam was off the floor and Love was on. And plays like this, reasons why.
Kevin's shooting a lot of really early jump shots too in the clock. And we're gonna kind of get into some of the other stuff that they did with him, but they were just so successful. Let's just get into it right now. I'll load up some more Kevin Love actions, but I thought what he was doing was absolutely critical to their success, and I think him shooting the ball as well as he did is so crucial. So let's look at this action. Kevin Love at the top of the key. They were doing this all game. Let's give Jimmy the ball in the paint. Jimmy did not have to dribble, right? It's just K-Love, because he's a shooter, he's respected. They run these sets with him. He gets the ball. Look, Jrue Holiday has to respect that he's going to shoot the ball, right? Jimmy now can kind of fly into the paint. That's a catch. That low man, Brook Lopez, now is okay, I'm stepping up. I'm going to guard Jimmy. Bobby Portis is oh, fuck. And Jimmy kind of goes one-on-one with him. He has the space. That's what you want. You want these actions where Gabe Vincent hits some shots. He's a threat. Kevin Love hits some shots. He's a threat. That leaves Jimmy one-on-one with Brook Lopez. And he can score. You want Jimmy to get a foul there or to get to the basket. And kind of that's what he's able to do in those situations. So I like that. That was the stuff I liked a ton. And I think that they're going to have a lot of success kind of in those roles, Brian. I thought it was a great kind of plan by Spo to get kind of Jimmy in those spots without having to move in the with the basketball, right? You kind of utilize everybody on the court. So we talked about Duncan too, to kind of look at a little bit of Duncan action. And I think a big theme today is guys affecting plays without touching the ball. Jimmy's, they're gonna run. We'll kind of rewind that because things happen really fast. Jimmy's bringing the ball up, and Duncan's gonna come to kind of screen. Jimmy gets off of the ball, gives it to Bam at the top of the key. Brook Lopez is defending Bam in a drop because Bam had been hitting some jump shots in the second half, and Brook Lopez is has to make sure that, okay, I have to defend this guy. Now Miami has an empty corner. Duncan Robinson, who was occupying that corner, comes up to screen for Jimmy off ball, and Bam is a very good passer. Miami's going to be able to get behind Brook Lopez. Look at that great pass. And that's Duncan's gravity, because they cannot leave Duncan to go with Jimmy. They have to respect Duncan. Jimmy's man got lost. Drew Holiday's Jimmy's man. Look, Drew gets caught behind a great Duncan screen, and Jimmy gets a basket. And they can do so much of that. And guys don't have to be these great kind of threats, Brian. They just have to play within their game, and they can help Jimmy be his best self.
I'm interested more on Duncan on defense than offense at this point. I think we know that on offense, the Bucks are gonna play. They're gonna send somebody close to him, like they did with Max. Like we were watching, like especially if he's in a corner, and we haven't even seen him really move off the screen as much, or like in a dribble handoff, which they can still explore more of that in the second game. I am actually really curious to see if that's something they would try to go to, because obviously there's going to be adjustments from game one that the Bucks are going to probably do something different, at least on defense. They'll probably do more of the drop with Brook Lopez. I think what they're going to try to do, if I had to guess, is they're going to maybe see if Kevin Love can do it a second game in a row, and probably play Brook Lopez more in the paint, because it seemed like the one thing that was helping Miami, especially when the Bucks were coming back on that run. I think they brought it close. They either tied it or were like within one. And then you had tweeted earlier somewhere that Jimmy basically went on like an 8-0 run by himself.
Yeah. Well, because he got a steal. He got some assists. Like he basically willed that.
But part of that is Kevin Love was on the floor during that stretch. And, the possessions where Brook Lopez was out on the perimeter, I feel like if he was probably more in the paint, some of that stuff probably, at least Jimmy's not the one probably taking the shot as much, even though I know Jimmy was getting a lot of the shots to go his way. Like his spots, he was getting to his spots pretty easy, especially in that first half. I think he had 17 shot attempts, which was the most in Heat history in a playoff game.
Yeah.
I saw that stat somewhere. But yeah, I think if I'm just thinking, what did the Bucks, I guess if you're thinking as Coach Bell, what did the Bucks do defensively as you're watching this film that they could do differently to kind of stagnate some Miami's offense? Because I highly doubt Miami scoring 130 again tomorrow.
I think that Milwaukee has to. I think Milwaukee's a team that likes to stay in their base. I think some of the things they can do is kind of move up a little bit higher on the pick and rolls. I think that they have to be a little more cognizant of Miami's cutting. I think that they just kind of got free. You saw Drew kind of gets jammed behind that screen. And I think if you're Grayson Allen, you have to have that recognition, and you need to be I need to go make a play here, and I need to trust that my teammates are going to kind of rotate out to Duncan Robinson, that I have to leave. And I think they need to play with a little bit more trust. I think you kind of saw how Miami is kind of trusting every guy on their line. And Milwaukee, I don't think was as kind of cohesive as Miami. Miami really kind of, drop defenses give you space. What drop defenses take away is the paint and the rim. So Miami had to get kind of creative. It's can we get to the paint without dribble penetration? And can we get to the basket, while taking Brook Lopez away? And I think that Miami has done some of that. I think if you're Milwaukee, one of the options is you could play Brook in an even deeper drop to kind of, really kind of take away that cutting. But you kind of open yourself to other things. So let's kind of look at a couple more kind of things that Miami did for Jimmy Butler as we kind of close out the show.
For Miami, in that counter, you basically would try to play smaller still, right? And hope that you can take Brook Lopez off the floor.
That's actually one of my final clips. So we'll get into that. So,
okay.
Let kind of going back. We remember how we talked earlier, how that Kevin Love at the top of the key was such an important play for them. They ran this over and over and over again in this play. So you saw the other one. Let's take a look at another version of how this goes. Kevin Love at the top of the key. Jimmy is going to kind of cut into the middle of the floor. Kevin Love is a shooter. He's a threat. Jimmy's going to catch the ball. Now, Bobby Portis is going to come in to help. Brook Lopez comes in to help. Jimmy has Max wide open, and he has a Gabe with that little touch pass. Gives it to Gabe Vincent. That's an easy 3. And that's a thing that Miami, and you just saw, there were 2 versions of how that went. When Gabe hits that shot, Bobby cannot come help. And if Bobby doesn't come help, Jimmy's going one-on-one with Brook Lopez. It was the same exact action, except this time Jimmy sees the rotation, quick touch pass. Gabe nails the 3, and he had a great game, shot the ball super well. And that's huge credit to Spo, Brian.
I like that lineup because it's Jimmy and 4 shooters.
Brian, that's a great point. When have you seen them run this all year? This is new. Spo's pulling shit out. Spo's like, watch this, right? So now Milwaukee, if you're Milwaukee, you're coming in and you're like, okay, what can we do? Well, one, you have to pressure the pass better. I think that's on Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles is super out of position. 2, I think Drew Holiday has to do a better job of kind of staying with Jimmy, because once Jimmy
Drew could probably,
it's too late.
Couldn't Drew also get closer on Kevin Love to make that pass a little tighter too?
Yeah, you want to pressure the pass, because at that point you're not getting back into play, right? So you got to be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, but Kevin has the size, right? He's just like,
but the thing is, Kevin Love's also not a threat off the dribble either.
So, Milwaukee's gonna have to answer that, but again, Miami kind of ran this a bunch and got a bunch of different looks. Sometimes Kevin shoots off the catch. That was something else that happened in this game. So, if Kevin's going to shoot so early in the shot clock, and that's why getting early offense is important, because if you're just a team that just waits till the end, you're only going to get a couple cracks at it, and you're going to become predictable. Because Miami has so much variance, they either shot early, they shot late, Kevin's catching and shooting, Kevin's not. They had that variance in their offense, and Milwaukee's always guessing on what's going to happen. And that's super huge. Let's take a look at another way that they kind of get Jimmy involved. So they kind of run, it's kind of like Spain, but not really. It's kind of like Spain pick and roll, where they run they kind of set a down screen off the initial screen. So Jimmy's going to get the ball on the wing. Giannis is on him. He gets Caleb to screen to bring Bobby Portis into the action. Giannis is now screened out of it. Jimmy's kind of coming in, and now Bam's screening down for Bobby Portis. Brook Lopez is kind of the low man here. And Jimmy's just going to get to his spot and rise up. That contest by Brook Lopez is late, and Jimmy gets to his spot and hits a jump shot. That's play design, right? That's something that they haven't done a lot of this season. Let's get Jimmy a jumper at the elbow, and pay attention to Kyle. So Kyle's at the wing, and Max is there too. Look at them move out of the way, right? Kevin's going to move. Kyle's going to run to the corner. Javon Carter chases him, kind of recognizes what's happening, make sure that Jimmy's space is not crowded. Javon Carter now has to make a choice. Kyle is moving. That pass is available. Javon stays with Kyle. Kevin kind of screens him, in a way, a decoy, and Miami gets a great look at a field goal, and we know how Jimmy kind of killed them in drop all night, Brian. I thought that he did a great job of kind of getting into his pull-ups, and those are going to be available for him all series.
I think one of the things I'm noticing a lot in these clips is that the Bucks don't look athletic without Giannis on the floor.
Yeah, they don't.
They look pretty stiff, especially defensively. They look pretty stiff. They're not recovering as fast as they should. Especially with Bobby Portis on the floor, they were cooking him on defense. I know offense, he was doing a really good job on offense against Bam in certain stretches, but defensively, I think I saw a stat that he gave up 6 out of 8 attempts on him, as the main defender. But even as a help defender, he's not even near where he should be to contest some of these shots. Really, I think he's given up more points than he's even been credited for on the NBA stats, advanced stats, breakdown that they have every game.
Brian,
I think, if they're going to play Bobby Portis more, which they might have to if Giannis doesn't play game 2, that only helps Miami on offense.
So if you're the Heat, everybody's saying, okay, well, Miami shot the ball awesome. Like, of course they won. I think you're seeing that they tried to do their best to get their shooters and their players in the best possible positions. Let's take another look at an action, and this is kind of about where they screen. I'm pretty big on like kind of screen variants and stuff like that. Oh no, I'm sorry, I got my clips mixed up. This is Bam going.
Oh, I actually do want to see this, but I want to see this though, because Bam did like his first half. I know Alf went on this rant on Hangover Time yesterday after the game. Yeah, his first about 2.5 quarters, he was kind of not aggressive on offense as we would like for him to be. And I think there was a switch that he flipped to start that third quarter. He kind of went away with it at the end of the third quarter. And then he came back towards the middle of the fourth quarter with that same aggressiveness and it helped close Miami that game. They obviously were still within like a 10, 11 point lead, but I mean, I think the Bucks had it within 8 at one point, then Gabe made 2 straight threes, and that was pretty much game. So I think like these kind of plays where we're about to show Bam making like these quick decisions, hopefully in the mid-range area where he can take the pull-up jumper that's given to him on this drop. We need more of that, especially with Tyler on. That's what I was saying on Hot yesterday.
Absolutely. So this is exactly that. Bam is not in the pick and roll right now, right? He has Brook Lopez on him. Gabe Vince is kind of coming off. Jimmy's kind of running. They're just getting Bam to his spot, right? Bam sees Brook Lopez, takes one dribble, kind of goes at him, gets to that pull up, and it's that attack that's going to be available to him. Let's look at that space that Lopez is giving him.
How much time was on a shot clock when you took that? 12. How often Miami ever takes shots? And this is what I'm noticing a theme. Like Miami is not taking these shots in the regular season without less than at least it's single digits always, but it's usually like with like 5 seconds or less. Usually.
And this is a later one for them because, I mean, they ran an action to get Bam the ball here. Look, he has the space. They know that he knows that he's not going to the rim. Look at how much, and he's eating at that. He's eating the space that is given to him. He makes a couple dribbles. He pulls up. Lopez contests. That's a tough shot that he hits. And he's going to have that all series, and he's going to have to take them. And if they play him even closer, he knows that he can beat these guys in a foot race. So
yeah, that 6 to 10 feet area is a sweet spot for him now.
Yeah, that's what he has to be at. Let's take a look at. Okay, this is the one I wanted to show. I want to talk about kind of screen variants and where Miami likes to screen. Typically, Miami likes to screen at the 3-point line, and kind of run pick and roll like that. This was different. Jimmy did it and Gabe did it. Look how far out Bam is screening. We haven't even started the action yet.
Is this a spread pick and roll? Hold on.
Yeah, no, they're running pick and roll. Jimmy's here. Max is in the corner. Caleb's in the other corner. But look how up Bam is. That screen is coming like 10 feet or whatever behind the 3-point line. Gabe is coming off, right? Bam stays. Gabe can have another move. Lopez is not anywhere near that action. And that's a bucket.
Yep.
That was really,
and it's a pull-up 3, which is even more impressive.
That was a dagger. And those were the shots that were really going to be there for Tyler. Now it's on Kyle, Gabe, Max, and Duncan to kind of take those. But I just think that it's important to look at Miami mixing up their timing. When that's Jimmy Butler with the ball, now all of a sudden Jimmy has a head of steam going to the basket, right? It's not kind of these low pick and rolls where he wants to get into his jump shot. When he gets ahead of steam and he's one-on-one with Brook Lopez, with momentum, it's different. So I thought that kind of the way that Miami kind of screened, remember in the finals, the big thing was kind of Jay Crowder setting those flat screens. Yeah. Kind of like these micro adjustments by Spo. And it's like, hey, let's throw them off and let's mix up how we're going to screen and where we're going to be. And we're going to kind of stretch the court as long as we can. And we're going to try to eat as much space that you give us. And credit to Gabe. What a good move. Kind of gets to his jumper. Really, aggressive defense by Grayson Allen there, but hits that shot. And then the last thing, I want to get to, Brian, you talked about how small they look. Look how small Milwaukee is without Giannis. You got,
who you got on the floor?
That's a Bam. This is the one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So
who we got on the floor right now? Let's point out, because especially for the pod audience that's not really watching. You got Joe Ingles on the floor. You got Jay Crowder.
Where Brook Lopez or Giannis are not on the court if Giannis isn't going to play. So, continue. I just wanted to kind of reason
Yeah,
why
yeah, yeah.
this is important. Like they're gonna have minutes where they're this small.
So on screen we got that's Jay Crowder, that's Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's on Kevin Love right now, which is amazing.
That was a switch.
Was
Off
a
the
switch?
Jimmy, the
Okay.
Jimmy action. Yeah.
All right. Well, then who's on the corner? I can't tell. Is that Wesley Matthews probably?
Yeah, that's Wes Matthews.
And then you got Bobby Portis. So your biggest, tallest player is Bobby Portis, and then Jay Crowder, I guess, would be your second tallest player, your second big. Joe Ingles, I guess, is kind of a wing. He doesn't play tall. Okay, but yeah, like this is like one of their smaller lineups, like you were saying, and yeah, I'm already saying like the switch. I can already see what's going to happen. You have an easy pass from Kyle Lowry with the switch that Kevin Love was able to get on Drew Holiday,
and there's a pocket to pass. Like the pocket exists. Jimmy's there,
which is crazy because Caleb Martin's like Wesley Matthews is probably way too close on Caleb on this play. If like he's a good shooter, but I wouldn't play him that tight.
So you're gonna run the action. Kevin's in front of the defense. Jimmy's by himself. Jimmy gets the ball by himself. Now you have they were in a panic. Now what ends up happening is Jimmy Butler is on Jay Crowder. Bobby Portis is on the perimeter. Joe Ingles is on the perimeter. Now your last line of defense is Drew Holiday as a help man. Jimmy has Jay Crowder seeing ghosts, no resistance. That's an easy finish for a guy that's bigger and stronger.
Go back to that real quick. What did Kevin Love do there that helped? Because he looked like he was taking two defenders out of that play.
So, yeah, Jay. So when Kevin's cutting early, and again, this is early offense for Miami, right? They're running their stuff. Kevin is kind of cutting early. There's nobody there. Jay Crowder's like, I got to get in front of him to prevent that pass.
The pass was there. Like Lowry could have taken that pass. I think he definitely had this. He did the safer pass instead by giving to Jimmy.
I think Jay kind of cutting in front, with the size made that difficult.
A bounce pass could have gotten in there though.
Jimmy's open. Kyle gives the ball to Jimmy. Now Jay, recognizing this, comes to help. Now you're 1-on-1, baby. They're not leaving Max. They're not leaving Kyle. They're not leaving Caleb. You got Kevin Love down there to offensive rebound. You're not worried about that help. If that was Brook Lopez, you're worried about that. You don't want Brook Lopez as that low man, And if you're Jimmy, you're like, I could beat Jay Crowder 1-on-1. Give him the little fake. Look at that. Had him stumbling. Just no resistance. Literally seeing ghosts. And look.
All that space he was able to create off that one move was crazy. Oh, that's easy. Dumb offensive foul. Yeah.
That's easy. That's how they roll. And they have a plan, Brian, and I feel more confident today than I even did yesterday. I don't think that Miami's going to win the series, but I do think that the Heat came out.
Whoa. You don't think they're going to win?
I don't think they're going to win, especially with Giannis coming back and not having Tyler. But I do think that if we've seen anything, it's that Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league. We just went through the whole game, like a lot of the game, went through a lot of things that Miami doesn't do during the regular season. Kind of highlighted these new things that we haven't seen from them. And it kind of just shows that Spo is always innovating, knows how to play the matchups, is like, hey, I know this team is good, and we're going to find ways to attack it. I think that the priority was to eat space and get to the soft spots of those drops. And Brian, a lot of that you saw was without three-point shooting. It was not, the looks were not to get open three-point shots. The looks were to go to the basket or to get pull-up jump shots. And I think that is huge because I think when we think of attacking the drop, I think we think of dribble handoffs to get Duncan a three-pointer. We don't think of Jimmy Butler going to the paint or Bam Adebayo kind of shooting little jump shots. So
yeah, we think more of those like Gabe Vincent plays where he's taking that pull-up three with Brook Lopez like 5 feet behind the three-point line.
And even then, that was kind of a new thing, that the way that they screened.
But to Miami Heat's credit, they did shoot 13 of 18 on catch and shoot threes in game one, which was 72%. For the regular season, they shot 34% on those same threes. So that helps.
They're gonna have to shoot well to win this series. I think it's pretty impossible for them if their shooters kind of don't show out that they're going to be able to win. But I think given everything that Miami has, I think that they have a plan, which makes me feel better. And we'll see. We'll see kind of, tomorrow we're going to talk to Ty Windish, who covers the Bucks for Eurostep. He's going to come on our Blue Wire brother. And
I got those receipts, Ty.
Ty's going to come on, and we're going to kind of do a collab, and we're going to talk about kind of where the Bucks, from his kind of perspective, where the Bucks are going to adjust. But if you're Miami, I think, you just keep doing what you're doing. I think if Milwaukee plays a little bit more aggressive, and plays a little bit higher, you have to come up with your own counters. I think that kind of involves more slips to the basket. I think you want Jimmy going downhill more in those scenarios. I think you want kind of more backdoor cuts. And they have a recipe. The fact that they won game one means that, they're going to win the counterpick war at least. They have home court back, and they're going to be able to kind of get the last laugh on adjustments. So got to hold serve here. Hopefully they can kind of consolidate their win on the road by getting a second one. But Brian, I don't know how you feel, but I feel pretty good.
I feel really good with Jimmy Butler on the floor for Miami. When he's on the floor, when he's playing those 40-plus minutes, which he's been playing quite often now in these postseasons, every time he's been in, like we're pretty much expecting him to only get like 5 minutes of rest max at some points.
Yeah.
I really feel good in Miami's chances to win. I don't know what this game 2 will kind of play out. I feel like it could be a closer game. I don't probably expect Miami to win by 10 like they just did for game 1. But if they keep it close, I do think what's going to help them is the experience of playing all these close clutch time games during the regular season, and even that game against the Bulls in the play-in tournament. They seem to have found that half-court offense that we kept complaining about last season. And in the clutch, obviously their half court isn't the best, but I feel a little bit more comfortable with Jimmy having the ball, making those shots. I do wish that Tyler was because he was also really good as well in making a lot of those fourth quarter shots. Like I think he was like top 10 in the NBA in points or something like that at a certain stretch. I know Bam's like the highest efficiency player in the fourth quarter for the entire regular season. So it's really going to be, the onus is really going to be on Bam probably more as well to make those shots. But then you do see like in stretches where like Max makes a crucial 3 or Gabe makes a crucial 3. And like, they're going to need that from all the role guys as well. It's not going to just be on Jimmy and Bam. You do need the role guys to make the shots when it counts. And that to me is like something we saw on the run last season that was able to get them to the game 7 against Boston. There was a game where Max Strus made a couple of threes to help them, when I think it was like game 3 when they were at home. I think that was a game where Bam went off. And that was like one of the plays that I remember, like, just like they came back. And a lot of situations where they're like, especially if they're down, like those are plays that I feel comfortable with some of those guys on the floor because they have that playoff experience. And I really do feel a lot more comfortable now seeing Kevin Love in the first time in the playoffs in a Heat uniform. Like if he can provide that too, as a veteran presence, and they can like kind of, take under his leadership on the floor, he kind of provides some of that PJ Tucker, prowess on the floor that, they kind of didn't have until they were able to acquire him, mid-season. So like, I honestly think they have a good supporting cast that I wasn't expecting to play at this level entering the playoffs. That game 1 really showed me a lot of good signs that they can definitely make a run, at least into making this a 6-7 game series where they could win. Because right now they have home court.
I think
if they go up 2-0 though,
baby,
to me, this series is over.
I wouldn't say that. I think that they are not good enough to not take this one game at a time. But I certainly think that if they win game 2, it's looking real good if you're Miami.
I would not expect the Bucks to beat Miami 2 times on their home floor.
And I mean, listen, we're not 2 years removed from that already happening.
I know, but to me, I was tweeting this in our group chat earlier, like maybe Miami did the good thing in losing that Atlanta game because I don't know. I feel like this defense plays into Miami's offense a lot better than Boston's switch happy scheme. Like to me, this is possibly the more favorable matchup for Miami.
I think that the one thing they have to watch out for is kind of Giannis getting going as a roller. I think that's the one thing that I need to see them deal with.
Yeah.
We see the plan. Giannis did not get a single attempt as a roller. I watched the whole game. Did not get a single attempt as a roller. The only time that they tried was kind of that time that Jimmy kind of jammed and blew up the play. But they have to show that they have an answer for that before I feel more comfortable. And also, like Giannis in transition, I think Miami has to take care of the ball. I think if you give the Bucks kind of transition opportunities, and Miami has a tendency to at times be a little careless with the ball. So I think making sure that they don't turn the ball over is pretty enormous for them. I don't know how many turnovers they had last game, but it felt like they were under 12, which I think is the sweet spot for them. They had, I'll tell you right now, they had 15 turnovers.
15.
They had 15 turnovers.
Yeah.
But obviously Giannis was not there for more than half the game, so you gotta keep that in check. But like I said, there's certainly things that I need to see them show an answer to. But early on, you couldn't have asked for a better start. And I'm feeling good about game 2. That's going to be a huge game for them. I think like you said, if they win that game, you obviously kind of step on the necks of the Bucks. You put them with or without Giannis. You really put their backs against the wall, and you have all the control.
It was what happened in the bubble. It was exactly what happened in the bubble. They won that second game. That second game, I think, was the one that went to overtime, right? Where Jimmy had to make the 2 free throws at the end.
I believe that was
game 2,
yeah.
I think that was game 2. So I kind of expect a similar game because, I remember game 1, Jimmy had a similar performance where he just went nuclear. Game 2 was more of a balanced offense for Miami. I don't think Jimmy had as many points in that game. Obviously, Goran's not playing for Miami, so who fills them that role if Jimmy can't get you 35 in game 2 will be interesting to see. But I do think in terms of what Miami can do, like there's stuff from the bubble that I can see some correlations playing in this series as well.
Need a big game out of Bam. You need to see if you can get Lopez into foul trouble, because that I think will for sure free Bam up a ton with or without Giannis. Yeah. And, hopefully Bam doesn't get in foul trouble if he's the one defending Giannis. That's another kind of aspect of
that
it.
Would be the one thing the Bucks would need to do in terms of adjustments. If they can get Bam off the floor and Giannis is playing, who would you see Coley Zeller moments in that situation?
I think you have to be careful with how often you play Love, because I do think like Milwaukee, I didn't include this, but Milwaukee attacked Kevin and Drop a lot. And I thought they did a good job. We didn't see the zone yesterday. I think that's certainly in their back pocket as well. And I think given the way that Milwaukee's shooting, it'll certainly be a weapon for them at some point if they need to. But, Miami has cards to play, Brian. Yeah. Milwaukee has some cards to play. It's a very early in the series. But, man, if Miami can get...
Bucks took 45 threes.
Yeah, and that's Miami's defense. And listen, if they hit 37% of those, Miami loses the game. Right? Like, pretty simple. True. So... you gotta, that's also kind of the other part of their defense. You got to be careful, and if they hit some threes, Miami's going to adjust, and that's going to kind of free up some of the stuff in the middle. So we'll see where they go. We'll talk tomorrow. We'll kind of get into more who's going to start, in place of Tyler. We'll kind of get into more of that. Today was more of a day in review, kind of kick off our playoff post game or post coverage, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, guys, check out. We got Hangover Time on Wednesday. Pre-gaming, of course, before the game. Remember, the game starts at 9 p.m., so we got a nice late start here. So hopefully y'all stay up and join hot. We got a pod tomorrow with Ty Windish. We have a guest, and then we have a Thursday pod. Hopefully with somebody who was covering the game. Tiff and I holding it down with somebody who might be at the game as media. So be on the lookout for that on Thursday. Kind of recap Game 2 going into Saturday, which we will have full coverage pre and post game on Saturday night for Heat Bucks Game 3. That'll be in Miami, so we have you covered on the weekends. All this playoffs.
Are you going into those games, or you're not going?
I gotta work, Brian.
So is Christian, but he's going.
Christian lives a different life than I do, Brian. Christian has a season ticket holder.
Tell Ethan, get you credentials. Tell him you need to go.
I think Ethan, Brady, and Alex got that.
Tell him you have to hold Kyle Lowry accountable.
Yeah, somebody has to do it. All right, guys. We will see you tomorrow. And remember, Miami Gaming Parties.
Peace.